Well, hey guys, welcome back to Waters Family Homestead. All right, as y'all can see, the white knight he's still around, and he's got more ladies than he did in the last video. So about 3 days, I think, after the extra roosters went to freezer camp, I got up, went to work, and I normally check in on the homestead through my cameras, and I noticed my old rooster, that was the oldest one here in the middle, Junior. And I told y'all he was gonna be put down because of his age and not processed. But that I was keeping his replacement, and that's him laying right there. He was laying in the pen. I'm guessing he just did not wake up one morning or whatever. He was sitting on the roost, but he was on the ground. And so I got home and disposed of him. He died on his own, which, like I told y'all, he was pretty old anyways. The oldest one I've had. He survived both dog attacks, and so he was the boss for a while until I got the white knight anyway. But so I didn't have to do anything with him. He lived out his life as good as he could. But what I have found was, since this rooster here is so young, there was just too many hens, and he wasn't, he's not quite old enough to really be the one in charge, but he's here. So he tries to do his job on a few of them, but them hens are a little bit meaner than he is. But so I moved some of the hens that were in here in the middle over in there with the white knight, because he is grown and he'll take care of them. And then I also had Sue. Now Sue's the oldest one, and we're going to do the same thing. He gets to live his life out until he passes away on his own, but he seems to be in pretty good health. There's the Easter egger. She's back out scratching around. She was molting, and you see her feathers are coming back in now. She looks pretty doggone good. So she's coming out of the molt, and that's a good thing. But the little barnyard mix Rhode Island Red right there in the middle, she is just now, in the middle of the molt, and she was not doing very well. And if I zoom in and look, I've got both her legs all purple. I don't know why, but I've never seen that before. But both legs, like they were skin up all the way up and down, and bleeding on her. So I took her and sprayed it with that purple treatment, and she doesn't move around a whole lot, but that left leg's hurting her because she's not using it at all other than holding it up. So I may take her and look at her again, see if I missed something. Maybe, I mean, you can see she moves it, but she does not use it. She tries to use them wings in that other leg when she moves around. But other than that, I had two hens over here that were molting, and I didn't want them picked on by all the extra hens that were in here. So I moved a few of the hens that were over here in with the white knight as well. So now there's a whole lot more peace in this pen because there's not so many hens. And this white one is actually the youngest one, and that gray one there. But this white one seems to be the dominant. She will run the rest of them off. But the Easter egger is the oldest. She was grown when I got her. And then these other three hens that are in here. Ooh, let me zoom out, y'all. Sorry. This one, that one in the corner there, right there, and the gray one right there. All three of those are the ones that were hatched out of the last batch of eggs. So you've got an older hen here in there with Thank you, Sue, for, doing your business right there. But Sue and her, and then this older Easter egger, so it just made it a lot more peaceful where they're not so being picked on quite so much. Maybe she'll get healed up. She didn't move around at all for 2 days. So once I treated her leg, she didn't move around the next day at all. And then she moved around in the pen a little bit. And then today I see she's out here not using that leg, but she is up and around and eating and drinking. So made it easier on Sue and the rest of the ladies that are in there, and made it easier on this young rooster here that we've got to come up with a name for. But either way, there's 15 hens in with the white knight, and that's kind of your max, really. It's in that range anyway. They can do more than that. Technically, they say one rooster can take care of up to 30 hens, but that's really their max. I mean, it's not going to happen typically. So he's got 15, and the young rooster here has got 5 in with him. There's 4 right there, and that's a young hen there, by the way. She's the same age as the little rooster. So those other 4 are older, and then all the rest of them are moved in with the white knight. So it just made things a lot more peaceful. It's a lot less of hens picking on each other, and easier on the roosters right now, because the white knight ain't gonna take no crap off of none of them. So anywho, it worked out the way I expected it to. I just didn't think he was gonna, go see his maker there that soon, but he did, and saved me from having to do it, because I really didn't have the heart. Otherwise, I would have taken him out when I processed those other roosters. So I hate that it happened, but it was coming, and I knew it. So other than that, the chickens are doing really, really well. I've got those 2 that are molting, and one of them seems to be coming out. Now I've got the one with the hurt leg or whatever, and she's coming out of the molt. So hopefully things will get better, and they'll all be doing well. But that still leaves 3 roosters with 25 hens. So I would not mind having more hens, but that's going to wait till springtime. So then it'd be time to process these older ones, which they're not even a year old yet, or they're about a year, something like that. I don't remember, but they're not that old. So all these Rhode Island Reds, all these black sex links, they are less than a year old, but come springtime, they'll be just slightly over a year, and it'll be time to put them in freezer camp. So I will need to raise more hens. So I'll see if I can't buy pullets that are supposed to be all female. But anyway, there's a hen in the nesting box in there. Y'all see all this straw out on the ground. I took the rest of that straw and just filled up their boxes and put some in each pen. We had a couple of nights where it got down into the low 30s, and I wanted to make sure that any hen that was not up on a roost at least had something, on the ground to insulate them a little bit, and they seem to be liking it pretty good. And I threw the rest out in the run areas to let them just scratch around, and as you can tell, I threw it in one big pile, and they've scratched it. They've thrown it around. So I hope all of you had a great Thanksgiving. I had a wonderful Thanksgiving. It was way better than I expected. Of course, we always expect the worst, but family argues and so on. But it was a fantastic Thanksgiving. My son actually showed up. He told me he wasn't coming home for Thanksgiving, and he drove up, and I was surprised. And he going back home today. This is Sunday evening, so he's got a 8-9 hour drive ahead of him, and he left this morning, so he's still riding. But then he'll be back on the job he's on in Louisiana for another couple of weeks, and then that job wraps up. and he does big industrial maintenance on equipment and converting equipment and such. So anyway, that job that he's been on for a couple of years will wrap up, and they'll have about 3 weeks, maybe a little more, but roughly 3 weeks where before he signs up for the next job, and that'll be actually about 4 hours further away, so he'll be closer to 12-hour drive from coming home. So, and knowing my son, he'd do that in one trip, but still, he'll be home for several weeks around Christmas, and I'm looking forward to that. I did get to see him quite a bit. All my kids and grandkids came to the homestead Thanksgiving, and my sister came over. Her husband's back to working nights, so he was sleeping, and her oldest boys were both working, and one of them's getting ready to move to Florida, and so they had a lot going on. So it was just my kids, my grandkids, and me and my sister, and we had a fantastic Thanksgiving, y'all. Everybody brought food, and of course we all got into a food coma after we ate, and it worked out really well. And none of the grandkids stayed Thanksgiving night. And then the next day, Friday, my oldest grandson, the one that he'd be here every day if they'd let him, he wanted to come out, and his mom and daddy made a deal with him. If he'd clean his room, he's only 10, y'all. If he cleaned his room, they'd let him come spend the weekend with me. So he did, and my daughter actually brought him out Friday afternoon, late Friday afternoon. It wasn't quite dark, but so he spent the entire weekend with me. And then Saturday, my other daughter brought all 3 of hers over here and left all 3 of them here for about 3 or 4 hours while they went and did some shopping and stuff. And then they came back, my son and her both came back and picked up the youngest grandson, and the 2 girls stayed. So I had the 2 girls and the grandson, the 3 oldest, with me Saturday night, and before church this morning. They all rode to church with me. So it's been a fantastic Thanksgiving holiday for me and my family, and I am very grateful for it. So I hope y'all had a great one as well. The biggest problem I have with my grandkids is here is the oldest boy likes to get into everything. He does that sometimes without asking, and I did have a talk with him about that. So things get moved around and it shouldn't be, but you see I got leaves all over the mower. I took it back into the woods and cleared all my normal paths that we normally run for the berms and hunting and all that, and made it easier and quieter if you're going in and out to a deer stand. And we got back there, and we actually had some range time, me and a couple of my son and my son-in-law, the middle son-in-law, and all the grandkids got out there and let them shoot a little 22, and they had a blast. And then we went back out. I made some adjustments to a couple of them, and we went back out yesterday, and I just saw a lizard in the old charcoal burn pile. Anyway, we went back out yesterday and resighted both those rifles in, and then let them do a little more shooting. And we were up at the 30-yard line, but ended up putting up nickels and dimes on a target. And the 2 oldest and myself all shot a nickel from 30 yards, and then I put a dime up, and they couldn't hit the dime, but I did. I put one right through the middle of it. And my youngest grandson, when they came back, he wanted that dime, so I gave it to him. But either way, that'll show you that them may only be 10 years old, but they can both really shoot very well. So hopefully that's a path that they will continue on, knowing how to properly handle firearms and all that good stuff. But they broke the old toddler swing there. One of the chains broke off the legs. I think I'm just going to cut it down and dispose of that. They would rather use this anyway, so I may end up making another one of those a little bit further away and give them 2 of those to swing on. But guys, I appreciate y'all watching my videos, keeping up with my channel, subscribing, hitting the thumbs up. All that stuff means a lot, and I really, really do appreciate it. The few new subscribers we got, we went up a little and came down a little and up and down. That's just normal for the way YouTube does my channel. So I appreciate each and every one of y'all anyway. Look at them all back there. Let me get down here where y'all can see them. I need to get that old pear tree trunk out of the run area. But anyway, thank y'all very much. Remember what I always tell you. Jesus Christ loves you, and so do I. Y'all be safe. Be prepared. Quiet afternoon. I like it like this, y'all.